I stood in our living room, surrounded by people who'd once been my friends, watching my husband laugh as his mistress blew out his birthday candles. The cake I'd baked sat untouched in the kitchen. They had no idea the real gift was coming, and it would destroy everything he built. If you've ever felt invisible in your own life, hit that like button right now. Subscribe because this story gets wild, and trust me, you'll want to see how karma works. Comment below if you do what I did. Now let me take you back to where it all started. My name is Bryn, and 4 years ago, I thought I'd married my soulmate. Holden was everything I'd dreamed of. Charming, ambitious, the kind of man who could light up a room just by walking into it. We had the house, the careers, the picture-perfect life that people double-tap on Instagram. I worked in marketing, climbing my way up to senior positions while he built his real estate empire. We were the couple everyone envied. At least, that's what I believed. But somewhere between our 3rd and 4th anniversary, things shifted. It was subtle at first. He started coming home later, smelling like cologne I didn't recognize. His phone became an extension of his hand, always face down on the table, always locked with a password he'd changed without telling me. When I asked about his day, he'd give me one-word answers. His eyes glazed over like I was a commercial break in his favorite show. He blamed it on work stress, on a big deal that was keeping him up at night. And because I loved him, because I wanted to believe in us, I swallowed every excuse like bitter medicine. When his 32nd birthday approached, I saw it as a chance to bring us back together. I took the day off work, something I rarely did, and poured everything into planning the perfect celebration. I woke up that morning with genuine excitement fluttering in my chest, the kind I hadn't felt in months. The early light streamed through our bedroom window as I slipped out of bed, careful not to wake him, and made his favorite coffee. I remember standing in our kitchen, the smell of freshly ground beans filling the air, thinking that maybe tonight would remind him why he fell in love with me. I spent hours decorating, gold and black balloons in every corner, elegant platters of catered food arranged just so, and the centerpiece, a 3-tier chocolate cake I'd baked from scratch because store-bought never felt personal enough. My hands were cramped from piping frosting, my back ached from standing, but I didn't care. Every detail mattered. Every detail was an offering, a prayer that we could find our way back. Around noon, my phone buzzed. A text from Holden. "Party starts at 7. Invite whoever." 10 words. That's all I got. No thank you, no excitement, no warmth, just a cold directive like I was his assistant, not his wife. Something twisted in my stomach, but I pushed it down. I told myself he was just busy, just stressed. I had no idea that in 7 hours, my entire world would shatter. By 6:45, I was ready. I'd changed into a burgundy dress I'd bought specifically for tonight, something that hugged my curves in all the right places. I checked my reflection one last time, applied another coat of lipstick, and told myself everything would be fine. The house looked perfect. I looked perfect. Surely he'd notice. Surely tonight would mean something. The first guests arrived right on time. Holden's colleagues mostly, a few mutual friends we hadn't seen in months. I greeted everyone with champagne and my brightest smile, playing the role of the perfect hostess. But something felt off immediately. People weren't quite meeting my eyes. Conversations would stop when I approached, then restart with forced enthusiasm. I felt like an outsider at my own party, like everyone knew the punchline to a joke except me. Then she walked in. Fallon. I'd heard her name before. Holden's new assistant, the one he'd mentioned casually a few months back. But seeing her was different. She wore an emerald dress that probably cost more than my mortgage payment, her confidence filling the room like expensive perfume. And the way she moved toward Holden, the way his entire face transformed when he saw her, I felt something crack inside my chest. He barely acknowledged me when I tried to kiss him hello. Just a quick turn of his cheek, his attention already back on her. I watched him introduce Fallon to everyone, his hand resting possessively on her lower back, the same way he used to touch me. Other guests watched this interaction with knowing looks, and suddenly all those awkward glances made sense. They knew. Everyone knew except me. I retreated to the kitchen, bringing out the appetizers I'd so carefully arranged. No one thanked me. I was a ghost, moving through my own home. That's when I heard Holden's business partner talking near the doorway, his voice just loud enough to reach me. "Didn't know you were still doing the wife thing tonight," he said with a laugh. The wife thing. Like I was a chore, an obligation, something to be endured. My hands shook as I gripped the counter. My stomach twisted into knots, but I forced myself to breathe. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was being paranoid. I checked the time. 8:30. Time for the cake. Time for the moment I'd been building toward all day. I lit the candles on my 3-tier masterpiece, each flame a tiny hope that this could still turn around. I called everyone to gather, my voice surprisingly steady, but before I could even finish speaking, Holden cut me off. "Actually, Fallon brought a cake too. Let's do hers. It's from that fancy bakery downtown." He said it so casually, like he was choosing between coffee brands, not destroying hours of my work. Fallon's cake was simple, store-bought, nothing special, but Holden treated it like she'd created art, and that's when I knew. I'd already lost him. The house was finally silent. Holden had left with Fallon around midnight, not even bothering to hide where he was going anymore. I stood in the wreckage of what was supposed to be a celebration. Lipstick-stained champagne glasses scattered across every surface, half-eaten food congealing on fancy plates, and my cake, my beautiful untouched cake, still sitting on the counter with melted wax pooled around dead candles. The air smelled like stale perfume and betrayal. I should have been crying. Everyone expects the abandoned wife to collapse into tears, to call her mother sobbing, to drown herself in wine and self-pity. But something colder had settled into my bones. I sat on my couch, the same couch where my husband had kissed another woman in front of our friends, and instead of falling apart, I started thinking. Really thinking. My mind began cataloging facts with a clarity I hadn't felt in months. Holden didn't know I'd been made partner at my firm 3 weeks ago. I'd been waiting to tell him at the perfect moment, wanting it to be special. How pathetic that seemed now. He didn't know because he'd stopped asking about my life entirely, but I knew everything about his. I knew his passwords because he'd been careless. I knew his business deals because I'd actually listened when he talked. And most importantly, I knew that this house, this beautiful house he'd always called ours, was actually mine. My grandmother had left it to me in her will. Only my name was on the deed. That realization hit me like lightning. Holden had been so confident tonight, so comfortable humiliating me in my own home, because he thought he held all the power. He had no idea how wrong he was. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I opened my laptop and started digging. Our joint bank accounts, investment portfolios, credit card statements. I had access to everything, and I'd never bothered to look closely before because I'd trusted him. What an expensive mistake trust turned out to be. By sunrise, I'd found the separate account. Holden had been transferring money out of our joint savings for months, small amounts at first, then increasingly larger chunks. $50,000? Just gone. Money we'd saved together, money from my bonuses and overtime, vanished into an account I wasn't supposed to know about. I kept digging. Emails came next. 8 months. They'd been together for 8 months, and the messages made me sick. But worse than the affair was what he'd written about me to his colleagues. "Bryn's unstable," one email read. "She's holding me back from my potential." Another called me clingy and desperate. He'd been systematically destroying my reputation while I'd been baking him birthday cakes. The rage that surged through me was white hot, but I didn't let it consume me. Instead, I let it crystallize into something harder, sharper. I called my sister's friend, a divorce lawyer known for being ruthless. Then I called a forensic accountant. By Monday morning, I wasn't Holden's victim anymore. I was his worst nightmare. 1 week. That's all it took for my lawyer and accountant to build a case that would unravel Holden's entire world. 7 days of silence on my end, while he sent occasional texts asking about splitting things fairly, as if fair had ever been part of his vocabulary. He had no idea what was coming, neither did Fallon. When Holden texted asking to meet about the house, I simply replied with an address and time. Our house, 2 o'clock on Saturday. He showed up right on schedule, And of course, he brought her. Fallon walked in like she owned the place, her arm linked through his, that same confident smirk from the birthday party plastered across her face. It was a power move, bringing your mistress to negotiate with your wife. Too bad for him, I'd been planning my own moves. "Bryn, let's keep this civil," Holden started, settling onto my couch like he belonged there. "We both want what's fair, right?" I smiled. Actually smiled. The look of confusion on his face was already worth it. "Absolutely. Fair is exactly what I want. In fact, I have some birthday gifts I never got to give you. Would you like to open them now?" He exchanged a glance with Fallon, probably thinking I'd lost my mind. "Sure," he said slowly. "What gifts?" I slid the first envelope across the coffee table. "Gift number 1. It's an eviction notice. You have 30 days to remove yourself and all your belongings from this house." The color drained from his face. "You can't kick me out of my own house." "Your house?" I leaned back, savoring this moment. "See, that's interesting. Because my grandmother left this house to me. Only my name is on the deed. It's always been only my name. You've been living in my house for 4 years, Holden, and now you're done." Fallon's grip on his arm loosened. I watched her eyes dart around the room, seeing it differently now. She'd thought she was trading up, landing a man with property and status. The reality was sinking in fast. "Gift number 2, I continued, sliding another folder across. "I froze our joint accounts. Turns out stealing $50,000 from your spouse is actually illegal. Who knew? My forensic accountant found every transfer, every hidden account. You'll be paying all of that back plus penalties." Holden's hands were shaking now. "Bryn, wait. Gift number 3 is my personal favorite. That property deal closing next week, the one you've been counting on to save your business? I'm the co-owner, remember? I invested my inheritance 2 years ago. You needed my 40% to make the numbers work, and I'm withdrawing my stake completely. Your partners already know. They're not happy with you right now." "You're insane," he shouted, jumping to his feet. I stood too, meeting his eyes with ice in my veins. "No, Holden, I'm just finally awake, and there's one more gift." The final gift was the one that truly broke him. I pulled out my phone and showed him the forwarded emails. "Your accountant now has documentation of every inflated business expense and tax shortcut you've taken. HR at your company has a detailed timeline of your affair with Fallon, complete with screenshots. Turns out your firm has a strict fraternization policy with subordinates. And your business partners? They've received every text message where you talked about cheating them out of their fair share once this deal closed." Holden lunged toward me, his hand raised, and for a split second I saw who he really was. Not the charming man I'd married, but someone capable of violence when cornered. I didn't flinch. "Touch me, and I add assault charges to everything else. Go ahead. Give me one more gift." His hand dropped. Fallon was already backing toward the door, tears streaming down her face. "You said you owned all of this," she sobbed at him. "You said she was nothing, that she'd take whatever you offered and disappear." She left, just walked right out, leaving Holden standing in the ruins of his own lies. He crumbled then, actually fell to his knees. "You're destroying my life." I looked down at him, this man I'd loved enough to lose myself for, and felt absolutely nothing. "No, Holden, I'm unwrapping the truth, and you can't put it back in the box. You have 30 days. Get out of my house." That was 3 months ago. The divorce finalized last week. I kept the house, received the settlement my lawyer fought for, and watched from a distance as Holden's carefully constructed world shrank down to something much smaller. His business survived, barely. I wasn't cruel enough to destroy it completely, but he lost the big deals, lost his reputation, and yes, he lost Fallon the moment she realized he had nothing left to offer her. Last I heard, he moved back in with his parents. As for me, I got promoted again. Turns out when you're not spending all your energy trying to save a dying marriage, you have a lot more to give to yourself. I started a podcast about financial independence for women, sharing the lessons I learned the hard way. I reconnected with friends I'd slowly lost while trying to be Holden's perfect wife, And yes, I'm dating again, slowly, carefully, but with hope instead of desperation. This morning, I sat on my porch with coffee, watching the sunrise paint my neighborhood in shades of gold. There's a lightness in my chest now, a freedom I didn't know I was missing. That birthday party taught me something. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. The best gift I ever gave myself was refusing to stay wrapped up in someone else's lies. Holden wanted me to disappear at his celebration. Instead, I disappeared from his life entirely, on my terms. Some gifts can never be unwrapped again, and honestly, that's exactly how it should be. If this story resonated with you, smash that like button. Subscribe for more stories of people who refuse to stay small, and comment below, what would you have done differently? What gift would you have given him? Let me know. Thanks for listening to my story. Remember, you're never trapped. You're just waiting for the right moment to set yourself free.